Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel at Lila Loves to Cook. I can't even say it because I can't stand cooking and I can't stand baking, and today I'm gonna bake too. But just like when I'm cooking, I like making homemade things and meals for my family. Today I'm gonna make banana bread. It's an easy banana bread recipe, easy to follow, easy to find the ingredients. So come follow me and let's make it together. Let's get started. All right, so what do we need? In this bowl, I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. You don't even have to sift it. You can bring it straight from the bag. You can sift it if you want to, but it's not required. A cup of granulated sugar. If you're on a diet, change the channel. You're not gonna find nothing here. A stick of unsalted butter. If you're gonna use regular butter, just make sure that it doesn't have, you don't put the salt, because this recipe also calls for salt. So if you're gonna use salted butter, omit the salt. If you're gonna use unsalted butter, then you can add the salt. A tablespoon of milk, just regular milk, whatever you have. If you have fat-free, low fat, all fat. A tablespoon of ground cinnamon. And here I have a teaspoon of baking powder, baking soda, and salt. So a teaspoon of baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Again, if you're going to use the butter with the salt, then do not add the extra salt. You need some nonstick spray so you can spray your pan. And 3 ripe bananas. You want them to look like this, because the darker they get, the sweeter they get. And then 2 eggs. And just a tip, crack your eggs and put them in a bowl before you actually put them in a mix. In case you have a shell, then at least the shell fell in here, where it's easier to get it out. The shell falls in your mix, you're probably gonna be serving banana bread with shells in it. And then you want a 9x5 bread pan, and just spray it with the nonstick spray, so that way you can get your bread out when it's done. Preheat your oven to 325. So you want it at 325. You want to do that now before you're putting your bread in. The best thing you can do is preheat your oven. That way when it's in the oven, it's actually starting to cook. Do not start it the minute you put it in the oven. So if you've never baked before, this is something new. Always preheat your oven. And then we're going to use my handy mixer back here. You were going to use the paddle attachment, and I'm going to show you how we get started. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to peel your bananas, put them in a bowl, and then you're going to use your milk and your cinnamon. This is the first part. Grab yourself a potato masher. If you don't have one, you could use a fork, but what you want to do is mash your bananas and get them all super soft.
I'm gonna fast forward through this, which actually I don't even have to tell you that because they're gonna know by watching it.
All right, now that your bananas are all mashed up, you're gonna add the milk and you're gonna add the cinnamon. And just mix all that together.
Mix it slowly, because there's a lot in here.
All right, so this is what you want your consistency to look like. If you have a couple little chunks, that's okay. Just make sure that you get the majority of them out, and then mix that milk and that cinnamon in there really well. All right, then take your 2 cups of flour and the salt, the baking powder, and the baking soda. You want to go ahead and add that to your flour and use a whisk or a fork and just mix all of that together. Okay, so next, with your paddle attachment on your mixer, you want to add the cup of sugar and your stick of butter. Lock your mixer, and on a low setting, just go ahead and start creaming the butter and the egg, the butter and the sugar together. If you see that the butter starts getting stuck on the paddle, then you can just put it up a little bit more. And you're basically creaming this together. You want your butter to become kind of chunky. See how that's happening now? Once the butter starts mixing with the sugar, you're gonna get a bunch of, it almost looks like sand. That's what you want. So let that go for a little bit. Now you're gonna put it back on low. And you see how your butter and your sugar is all incorporated together? This is when your eggs come in. And you wanna add your eggs one at a time. Once one is mixed, then go ahead and add the other one. Now we're ready for our second egg. Once you get to this consistency where it almost looks like a thick cake batter, you want to go ahead and add your banana mix. So we have our banana mix in here, and we're mixing it with our butter and sugar mix, and we're gonna let that go till it's all mixed together, and we're almost there. And our next step is to add our flour mixture. But when you add the flour, you want to add it a little bit at a time, because flour tends to get really messy and will fly over everything. So I just added 1 spoonful at a time. I just wouldn't throw it all in there. So if you're a new baker, do not throw all your flour in there anytime you're baking anything, for that reason, because you will make a mess in your kitchen. I mean, I guess it's fine, because I mean, at the end of the day you can clean it, but it's just, you don't want things like that to deter you from cooking next time, simply because you're like, oh my god, I made a big mess. Who cares? Just pick it up and keep it moving. So you want to mix this all together until the flour is fully incorporated, until you can't see it no more. And we're actually almost there. You see it? Everything's coming together. You don't want to over mix your batter, because banana bread still has a little bit of a cake consistency. If you over mix your batter, you're going to take out the air and it's going to be dry. You don't want that. So let's go ahead and get this out of here and clean your paddle. When you take it off, just clean it, because those are ingredients that are supposed to go in your actual banana bread. They're just stuck to the paddle. So clean that off. All right. And if you get some flour that falls in there, just mix it yourself. But don't mix it really hard. Just kind of fold it in. Because again, the more mixing you do, the more air you're taking out of your dough. And there you go. We're going to go ahead and pour this into our pan. And this is going to bake for about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes in your oven, depending on your oven. My oven, it takes about an hour to an hour. It takes about an hour and 10 minutes. What I recommend is go ahead and put it in your oven for an hour. At the hour mark, stick a toothpick in the middle. If it comes out clean, it's done. If it does not come out clean, that means the middle needs a little bit more time. So let it cook for another 10 minutes. But typically it's about an hour and 10 minutes for my oven. So it just depends on your oven. And do not fill your pans to the top. I do see some people will fill their pans to the top. and then complain that they have overlap, that's because this is going to grow and it's going to get to the top. So if you're going to pound it, I've seen this, one time is enough. Do not do a lot. You're taking the air bubbles out of your cake, out of your banana bread, and it's going to make it taste dry because it doesn't have all those air bubbles to be like soft. So let's go ahead and put this in the oven and we'll come back as soon as it's done. So our banana bread just came out of the oven. It took 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I just want to show you, I have a toothpick here, and I just want to show you what I mean when I say the toothpick comes out clean. So sometimes the bread looks like it's done on the outside, but then when you cut into it, it's still wet because it hasn't finished cooking. Take a toothpick, stick it all the way through. If it comes out like this, meaning you don't see any banana bread, like chunks of it on there, or any like liquid, it's done. So I'm just gonna let it cool, and once it cools, I will turn it over and show you what it looks like outside of the pan. And I usually serve this, I'll slice it all up, I'll put it in a container, and then my family can grab it as they choose. Usually when it's fresh out of the oven, we'll eat it with a little bit of butter on the side and some coffee. All right, the star of the show is here, banana bread. This banana bread is so easy, so good. It is nice and moist. You could serve it warm, again with coffee, butter, hot chocolate. What I usually like to do is I cut them in slices about this thick. And I don't know about you, but when you go into a coffee shop, you're paying $3 or $4 for a slice of banana bread. I think this whole banana bread cost me $3 or $4 to make. And it was so easy. So what I usually do is I slice them, I put them in a container, leave them sliced, and then my family can grab them whenever they want. I hope you enjoy this recipe. I hope you make it for your family. And I hope you come visit me again here at Lila Loves to Cook. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smile. It looks good on you. Bye, guys.